Hello, everybody. It's me. It's Brother KAPOW, Paul KAPOW from the KAPOW Radio Show. Look, I want to keep talking a little bit about this COVID stuff because it's, for me, man, there's some changes going on. And I want to talk about the positive stuff. I don't want to talk about the negative stuff, and I'm not going to talk about the sickness, but I want to talk about some mental or internal spiritual changes, maybe. And I do hope, I really do, I do hope that these changes are lasting. I hope it's not a temporary thing, and then I revert back to my pre-COVID days, my pre-near-death experience with COVID days. If you don't know what I'm talking about, listen to last week's show where I talk about how I almost died from lung pneumonia, lung infection, and COVID on top of it. But anyway, it's interesting. I'm still recovering. My biggest issue physically is lethargy. It's getting better and better every day, but I have to take it really easy and don't do too much, physically. I can sit in front of the computer. I can work. I can do things like that because I can just take my time and click the mouse. But there's not a whole lot of physical stuff I can do. I'm sleeping much better. I'm not having the weird nightmares and things like that, and I'm able to take care of myself a whole lot better. So I'm definitely on the mend, but it is a slow process, and everybody was telling me that it may take months before you fully feel normal again, and they're absolutely right. So I am really not pushing it. I'm being very cautious, and so here we go. But anyway, here's some positive things I want to talk about. I just want to run some positive things here that happened. As you know, last week, I talked about how, I didn't see Jesus and the white light, and I really didn't even feel the presence of God in my sickness or in my hour of distress. What I felt was evil. I actually felt the evilness of this disease. And no one could convince me this is natural, that COVID is a natural thing. I'm totally convinced that it was manipulated in a lab, using human DNA. I'm totally convinced of that. There's an evilness to it. But, and I did feel the spirit of death. I smelt the spirit of death. So did my wife. That was there. But I never felt God. I never felt Yahweh or my Messiah or anything like that. And I'm not being negative, and I'm not saying anything. It's just, I just never felt that. And it's okay. There's reasons. It's reasons for that. That's really not an issue. I had expectations that on a lot of things that didn't come to fruition, and that's all right. That's all right because I learned that your expectations aren't always going to happen. Always right. But some of the positive things. One of the biggest thing I want to talk about is gratefulness. I can't tell you how grateful I am to be alive, and how grateful I am to be on the mend and mend quickly, and be able to not have some of these long haul COVID systems, at least not yet, that others have. I mean, I've been reading about this long COVID symptoms that others are developing, and it's horrible. I feel so bad for them. Even here in Las Vegas, they opened a center now for long COVID symptoms. They have a center now because the medical profession, they were misdiagnosing a lot of symptoms, and they didn't understand about the long haul COVID. And people are really having some real issues with it. I've talked to many people about it since my illness, and they, they have like lung scarring issues, or their heart became enlarged. It messed up their heart. There's a lot of different things that happen, and boy, they really need prayer. But so far, I'm doing okay. My oxygen levels are back up in the mid 90s, and I'm doing okay. So I'm very grateful for that. And I'll give you an example. It's just, I don't know. I was getting to the point in life where everything was gloomy to me. I was just kind of like just a big Armageddon guy. I was just like waiting for the end of the world. I really, one of the big things I did is I watched the news too much. And part of it was because, I used to do that show Freedom Friday, and, I'd have my nose into current events, every day. And it was kind of addicting. And, it's one thing to read it. It's another thing to just ingest it all the time. And that's what was happening. I didn't have the TV on or anything like that, but, you're going to get the news through Facebook and through your news feed and things. And so I just kind of became a real gloomy person, very Armageddon and end of the world. And, when's God going to come back and destroy all this, nonsense? And so, I was that dude. And, but, now that's like, I feel like I have a second chance, and I just see things a little differently. I just don't see it so gloomy. And I think, the time when history ends, that's when the time history will end. But at this point, I just feel I need to live life. I just, be who I am and who I was designed to be at this time and at this location, and to live it to the fullest and be grateful of what you have. And I know that's God's mercy. Like I said before, I never felt God in this sickness or anything like that. But yet, in a very strange way, I can't deny that he was there, because he's just merciful, and the fact that I'm grateful is God's grace. And the fact that I went to the ER and I had the proper nurse, and I had the proper doctor that gave me the proper medication. It's just grace. So, no, the heavens didn't open up and angels sing, but he was there in a very practical way. And I think for me, that's more important, because I'm alive. Now, I'm just grateful. At this point, I have less concern now. I'll open up Facebook, I'll look at the news feed, and while I was sick, this whole Ukrainian thing started happening. And I have no idea what it's about. I'll tell you honestly, I have no idea. And I'll tell you the truth, I don't care. It's something that's out of my sphere of influence. I cannot control that. It's nothing I can do about it. And so I've decided that if it's out of my circle, if I can't control it, it's out of my sphere of influence, and it goes beyond that, then I'm not going to concern myself about it. And because it brings me to a point of negativity. So one of the positive things that happened for me is I'm just less concerned about this stuff. Yesterday, for the first time by myself, I got in my van and I drove to Ace Hardware to, I actually went for a light bulb that went out in my microwave. And I cannot tell you just how happy I was to go to Ace Hardware. I mean, I go in there, and before I go in there, I hear a voice. There's a couple looking at some flowers, buying some flowers. And I hear this voice and I recognize it. And she's one of the singers that I had, I did some live audio on a show in 2020 outside during the middle of COVID. That's the audio I ran. It rained that day, and I ran the whole system from inside my van. And she was one of the singers, and just a beautiful lady. And so I recognized her voice, and I said, "Linda." And she goes, "Oh my God." She had heard that I had been sick and everything like that. And I met her husband, and it was nice. And it was just such a pleasant conversation to talk to her. Then I go into Ace Hardware and I grabbed a little cart. I'm only there for a light bulb, but I know. So I got my cart, and I found myself, and I couldn't help it, smiling. I had this big smile on my face. The other thing is that in the state of Nevada now, all COVID restrictions are gone. There's no mask. There's no mask mandate anywhere. There's none of that. So there's a sense of freedom again. And it's just nice to see people's faces and walking around. So that happened during my sickness too. So when I came out of this, I came into another world that's a lot better. And so I couldn't help it. I'm smiling, and I noticed it, and I thought, why am I smiling? It's because I felt so grateful to be at Ace Hardware. I felt so grateful to be there and be able to do what I was doing. And so I ended up not only buying a light bulb, but a power strip, and something for my outdoor lights, and then I also bought four 40-pound bags of salt crystals for my water softening system. 4. And I loaded them all up, and I did all that stuff, So I was so happy. And then when I got home, I installed everything. I installed my power strip. I installed my outdoor lighting box. I put away my salt crystals. I physically did all that stuff. And I was just, stuff I took for granted before. It was just amazing that I was able to do that and still, have energy. So gratefulness is my number one key. The other thing that seemed to happen to me is that I just became more aggressive, I want to say, or more assertive in marketing my band and marketing myself. I think before I just was a little, you're just hoping somebody's going to like your music and discover you and then market you and talk you up. But that just doesn't happen. You got to do it yourself. And so it's just, I changed and I started doing a lot more. Now, maybe it's just because I had more time to sit in front of the computer and think about things. I don't know. But I became a lot more aggressive on my email follow-ups and contacting people and doing things. And it paid off within weeks. I mean, I've got half a dozen gigs, half a dozen really good events going on just because I contacted people and was a little more assertive with who I am and what we could do for them, and they liked it. And they would have never known before had I just been sitting around waiting to, get discovered type of thing for gigs. And so that was a real positive thing for me, very, very positive. And so it's more like my attitude is I just feel life is short, and you kind of gotta, you gotta do what you gotta do to make it happen, and just not wait around for it. If you love somebody, you better love them now, right? The other thing that really happened, because of this is that, it seems to me I became like just more tolerant towards others. More like understanding that they have experiences that I know nothing about. Let me give you an example. Let's see, Tuesday, we'd gone to an artists association gala that Linda and I had joined. And it was really nice. And I had a wonderful evening just talking to people and, listening to beautiful chamber music and just talking to the artists and looking at art. And it was just a beautiful evening. Plus, I got a chance to be assertive, pass out a bunch of cards, and I got a gig out of it. I actually got a job out of there meeting people. So afterwards, Linda and I, we go to a restaurant, and I haven't been there in a long time. And we go into this restaurant, and it's a Thursday night in Mesquite, and for some reason, it's just packed everywhere. So I don't know if there was a golf tourney in town or whatever, but it was just packed. And the restaurant is small, and I saw that they only had 2 servers, and a busser, and so we get there and the place is packed, and I'm standing in line waiting to be seated, and the waitress, she just walks past us. She doesn't, acknowledge us like I'll be right with you or in one moment. She just walks right past us, does something with the bill, then comes back towards us again, and just really ignores us. I mean, literally just ignored us while we're standing there. And usually, a business, if you're a good business, or you at least acknowledge the customer, I'll be with you in a second, so they know. but not this gal. And you could tell she was very frustrated, I think. And then the other waitress that was working there, a little younger gal, she did the same thing. She came out and doing something, but she wouldn't even make eye contact. Now the busser was nice. I was talking to him, but there's nothing he can do. So not a big deal, but it was kind of like, wow, So finally, the gal came up and said, how many? I don't know, 2, and sat us down, and she goes, it'll be a minute. He got the menu, it'll be a minute. She was very terse, very short, very terse. So, she came back, we made our selection and things like that, and did the stuff, and she, like I said, very terse, very not friendly or nothing, and it's running around. But I could see that she was running around like crazy. It was really busy, and she did that. She did that with everybody who walked in. She ignored everybody that that walked in until she was ready to acknowledge him. So she had come back with some of our order, and I just looked at her and I go, "You're having a busy, crazy night, aren't you?" And she goes, "Yeah." She goes, "It's out of control." She goes, and everybody decided to come in at once. And I go, "Bless your heart." I go, you're working your butt off, and I can see that. I thank you for that. And you know what? Her whole demeanor changed. It just changed. Now, I didn't say that, to get anything from her. I just said that because that's what I observed. She was going through an experience I knew nothing of, and I needed to be tolerant of that. I just felt I needed to be tolerant of that. She's a human. She's working. She's trying to pay her bills, and it's hard. So anyway, at the end of the night, we get our check, and it's like $23. So she comes back and she says, "Anything else? You need change?" And blah blah blah. And I go, "No." I go, "Here's the money. Here's the cash for the check. And here's a 20 for you." And I'm not saying you're bragging, left hand, right hand stuff. I'm just telling you. I hotshot these people I hotshot the guy who sprays my yard for bugs. I'll hotshot my landscaper. I hotshot Schwann's delivery driver every time he comes. I'm giving him, because I'm not going out all the time tipping people. So when I do tip them, I tip them big, because they're working, man. They're working. And so you should have seen this. This gal was so appreciative of kindness, somebody being kind, and it was huge. And what I noticed in me, it wasn't like I wasn't like that before, but I just noticed. I guess when I say more tolerance, it wasn't even that. It was just, I'm grateful, and you want to be kind. I don't know. It just changed. The COVID thing rewired something in there. I don't know. I became sensitive, a little more sensitive, I guess. Not that I would have been mad before. Maybe, I wouldn't have tempted well, but I probably would have complained a little more, to myself, grumbled, like, blah, 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 I don't know. But I'm kind of embarrassed even telling that story, but that's the other things, so I want to say tolerance, but maybe sensitivity.
Recently, spiritual attacks on innocent people have increased considerably. This is partly due to society's transformation into a satanic cult. Most people are clueless or hopeless in combating this spiritual mayhem. We wish to offer 2 good books to overcome these attacks. First, Demons in My Marriage Bed, a true story of spiritual warfare, offers one of the most effective training systems in combating spiritual darkness in order to gain personal freedom. Second, Eyes to See Unseen Enemies teaches how to see the hidden dangers which are all around us, even in places we would least expect them. Both books can be purchased on Amazon.com as a paperback or ebook. It is our desire that you will take advantage of these opportunities to increase your effectiveness in spiritual warfare and learn how to fight back instead of being a victim. We'll see you on the battlefield.
So one of the last things I want to talk about is like I said, I never felt the heavens open up, or I didn't see Jesus in the white robe and, well done, my good and faithful servant, and come and blah, blah, blah. I don't know why. My theory is that it wasn't my time. Now, whether or not you believe the statement in Hebrews that says it's appointed unto mankind once to die once, and then after that's the judgment. I tend to believe everything that I can understand in the Bible, and maybe I don't understand it correctly, but if I can understand it, I tend to believe, because if you don't believe some things, then you're down that slippery slope of what do you believe and what do you don't. So I've always believed that mankind has an appointed time. And so, when you hear things like, oh, he died way too young, or blah, 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 and as tragic as all that is, for some reason there's an appointed time for that. And I don't, and I know as humans, we're always trying to circumvent that appointed time. And I did the same thing. I went to the emergency room to get help. So the only thing I can think of, is that it just wasn't my time. Because I think if it was my time, then it would have been my time. The experience may have been exactly the same, but somehow, that angel of death, it didn't get the final permission. That's just my crazy theory. I don't know if it's even true, but that's just how I see it. But I didn't feel, the presence of Yahweh or God. I wasn't Moses. There's no burning bush. There's no anything. But during this, the people, including my wife, my wife was incredible. Because her anxiety level got up. It really got up there. And, we were in an emergency room, and I just looked at her, and the only thing I could tell her was, watch your anxiety. Don't let it get to you. And she was able to calm herself down and be my advocate, ask the questions, talk to the people instead of me. It was invaluable for my recovery. And of course, just feeding me what I needed and the comfort and everything like that. So my wife was just a hellacious caregiver. And, you talk about grateful, very, very grateful to have a wife like that, and for her to be so concerned and caring. And I told you last week the story about Donna and how she came to my mind. So that's to me, that's the God's mercy. And, brought the oxygenator over, and that made the difference of you need to go in, not go in type of thing. And her expertise, she's really, really a good, powerful emergency nurse when she was working. And, she was able even to read my blood, my lab work, and, talk about it with me. So she was so good. And she's just a neighbor, I got cards, physical cards. I'm talking about people who really are closer to my wife than they are me. I'm really not that sociable. I'll stay home a lot, and she's out a lot socializing. But they're more like her friends or her acquaintances, but they know me, through them. And there was this one couple that while I got sick, they both got COVID. Now, they didn't have the other lung infections and all this stuff, but they both got COVID. They both got sick, and were on the way to recovery. So they were sick at the same time I was. And I get a physical card in the mail. That means they wrote, her husband wrote well wishes to me on one side, and then she wrote the other side. And they hand wrote it and then put a stamp on it. To me, it just blows my mind. And then I got another one from a woman that my wife dances with in her dance troupe, her tap dance troupe. And I don't even know this woman that well. I know she is because of the dance troupe. But I get a physical card from her. A physical card, I mean, handwritten, wishing me well. They put a stamp on it. I know it sounds crazy, but I mean, I just saw God in that. I just saw God saying, look at dude, it's not always a burning bush. It's not always, you know, getting knocked off a donkey on the road to Damascus. Sometimes it's just this subtle wind. It's just silence sometimes, and I use people. So that's the other big thing I learned, is that it's people. Well, we're human. We're here. We have to model our Creator when He tells us to do so, whether we know it or not. It was amazing, and then, I mean, not only physical cards, but I can go on and on about these people, but there's another lady who my wife works with, and she belongs to another organization called Mesquite Showgirls, and they're senior women. They're very beautiful senior women who put on, like, you know, showgirl costumes, and they're a 501, and they go and they assist, you know, grand openings and charities and things like that, and they're just really beautiful people. Well, the president of this, you know, she knew I was sick. She made me soup, handmade soup, and came to my house like at 8:00 at night and delivered it. And she walked in my house without a mask or anything and delivered it. My niece, I told you last week, my niece hunted. She's in Colorado, so she's online hunting for a nurse to come to my house and give me an IV. And she did that, and she paid for everything and even tipped her. I mean, I can go on and on. It's just incredible, the love that I got. And by the way, my niece, at the same time I got sick, one of her sons got COVID. So these are people who are going through their own thing. I got Shy and Matt Jacks. You know, they have their own podcast called Seed War Radio. Matt Jacks is the barbecue, the slow cooker virtuoso that I wrote the song Fourth Man Barbecue for his show. And Shy, you know, she's been listening to us for years, you know, the KAPOW show. And also she just emails me and she says, late January, beginning February, I just started praying for you real hard. So she had a burden to pray for us right when all this was going down. So, you know, what do you say about that? And then she herself is going. She had COVID back in 19 before they even know what it was, and it messed her up real bad. She has all kinds of problems now, and she's going through all kinds of physical problems. I mean, much, much worse than I went through, or I can imagine. And yet she was pregnant. So, and then you know, I can't mention all the people or time. I would get texts from people, from friends, you know, and just friends, you know, John Janey, you know, neighbors. Hey, how you doing? You know, what's going on? I heard you, you know, how you doing? I get texts from musicians that I haven't heard from a long time. Just, you know, neighbors that are musicians. Hey, we heard you were saying, how you doing, Mama? And not just one text. I mean, over and over. My neighbor, 2 doors down, same thing. Anything you need, right here. Blah, 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 blah. Anything. And not just once, several times. Anything. My next door neighbor, same thing. You need anything? Blah, blah, right here. Blah, blah, blah. It's like concerned. They were like concerned. Amazing. The other thing is, you know, my wife had kept my family, my sisters, and everybody in the loop in this thing. And one of the great things that I'm just thrilled about that came out of it is, my oldest sister, I call her the Queen sister, and she had just got through a bunch of surgery and things like that too, and so she's recovering from a bunch of surgery. So it's another person that's going through a bunch of stuff, and so very 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 concerned what's going on. But she says to herself, hey, I need to go see my little brother because he almost died. And I need to go see him. And so through all of that, through some discussion and finding out some, dates that we're playing in April, she's coming out. And, I'll tell you, in 37 days, I'm so excited. And, oh, man, I already booked her rooms and I'm thrilled. But that's a positive thing that came out of this thing. Is that kind of, so yeah, I don't know, I guess my point is it's the people. So yeah, I didn't see the burning bush, and but there's that story of Elijah or Elisha, I forget which one. He's in the cave, and I think it's Elijah, and he's running from Jezebel, and he's in a cave, and there's thunder and lightning, outside. He goes out there and there's no God. It's just thunder and lightning, and then there's this and all this crazy weather, and there's no God. And then he finally it's all calm, and it's just like a still small wind. That's where God was in, and I don't know. There's a story in there, but that's what it kind of reminds me of. He was there, but he was there through people. He was there through Ace Hardware, through gratitude. He was there through a grouchy waitress. He was there through the kindness of people and text and cards and things like that. So I hope I'm making sense. And I hope we could, extrapolate something from this, like, wow, I get it. And I'm not just rambling on. All right. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys, and we'll talk to you, Lord willing, next week, and about something else. Okay. All right. God bless y'all.